Oh, you mean the Apple? The Apple?
No, just Common Core.
Oh, I think Common Core is really important because it needs to have some cohesion between the states. And Texas keeps screwing it up.
And Washington.
Texas got upset about it, and they wanted to have their founders. They want to pound the founders in, and it's like, come on. The dead white guys did not create this country. It was a whole bunch of different kinds of people. And yes, there were women, and yes, there were people of color, and yes, and you need to talk about them too. But they want to talk about those dead white guys.
I got it.
They don't agree with Islam, so they want the kids to know about it. They don't agree with birth control, so they don't want the kids to talk about it. They don't agree with math because they don't understand it. It's not the same math that they did in high school, so they don't want the kids to know about it. People who say that they want to teach the Constitution only want to teach the part of the Constitution that they like.
Second Amendment.
Teach all of it. Let's damn Second Amendment. Damn Second Amendment. Damn Second Amendment.
Hey, kids.
There's always money. It's never about the kids.
What do you believe? What do you believe?
Now, yesterday, Donald Trump gave a speech. Did you see that speech here?
Yeah. So we spend more than anybody else, and to a large extent, that's Common Core. Because, you know, these people in Washington, the bureaucrats are making a fortune. They don't give a damn about your kids in South Carolina.
Hey, kids. I'm in it to sell books. Don't even kid yourself for a heartbeat.
There's always money. It's never about the kids.
This past weekend, Project Veritas visited the South Carolina Tea Party convention. Most of the major Republican presidential candidates were in attendance. Not surprisingly, one of the major issues discussed was Common Core.
Get rid of Common Core. Bush is in favor of Common Core. Nobody can win when you're in favor of Common Core. It's a disaster.
The recent release of 2 Project Veritas videos exposing Common Core corruption hadn't gone unnoticed.
Like James O'Keefe says, have you seen his videos?
You know, I saw that he did it. I haven't seen the video he did on Common Core. I saw that he did it. I've seen a lot of his other videos, but I've been on the road enough that I haven't watched it.
That's what they're doing.
I'll
It's
tell
scary.
you this, as president, I will instruct the Department of Education to end Common Core on day one. What do you think the real issues for Common Core?
Well, the real issue for Common Core is the elites in our culture who want to indoctrinate our young people into a certain way to think, a certain belief structure, and it's all spread out through the Common Core. And look, I believe that the best and safest way to maintain our values in this country is to leave it up to the people at the grassroots level.
So Rick Santorum just basically previewed our next video about the politics and the kind of left-leaning indoctrination going on, and so stay tuned.
In this, the latest video in our Common Core series, we are speaking with a former executive of Pearson Education, the biggest textbook publishing company in America. This is Kim Korber.
Is that because it's teaching them science, it's teaching them things that they don't believe in?
Educated Fox TV viewers think that Common Core comes from the educated liberal groups, and that's why they're against it. They don't know anything about it because they think it's liberal, so they're against it. That's what I think. There's a knee-jerk reaction. My mother, oh my God, she's a Fox person. If I could remove Fox from my television set, I would.
Kim Korber now works for National Geographic Education, another Common Core publisher. She's a true believer in Common Core, and she seems to embody Rick Santorum's concern. She clearly is unhappy about Texas rejecting Common Core and going their own way.
Common Core is really important because it needs to have some cohesion between the states. And Texas keeps screwing it up.
And Washington State.
Well, Texas is just unbelievably awful. And I did a presentation yesterday for AP US History. And the AP US History agenda was set until Texas got upset about it. And they wanted to have their founders. They want to pound the founders in. And it's like, come on. The dead white guys did not create this country. It was a whole bunch of different kinds of people. And yes, there were women. And yes, there were people of color. And yes, and you need to talk about them too. But they want to talk about those dead white guys.
I got it.
And that's the problem. You're getting pushback because there's a bunch of Republican people or conservatives that don't like being told to do by people that they don't agree with. For example, in AP U.S. History a long time ago, Texas wanted to have U.S. history books, right? Pearson made a book, but it talked about the Wild West, and they talked about how there were prostitutes, right? And Texas was really upset. They didn't want to mention prostitutes. I'm like, who? You're too young. But did you watch Gunsmoke? Okay, Gunsmoke is a TV show, and there was Mr. Marshall Dillon, and Miss Kitty was his friend. She owned the bar, and she was a prostitute, but they never mentioned it, but that's what she was, right? Like, who is Miss Kitty? Who are these people that went out and serviced these men that were out in the world? You know, it's like, that was real. The Wild West was not a nice place. Yeah. And our kids need to know that that's what it was like, you know?
And these people are really upset about the fact that the Constitution is not being covered.
It's being covered, but not the way, because they're idiots and they don't know what's in it.
Well, I don't think that, I mean, is it covered as much as it would have been?
12th grade government, it certainly is, and in 5th grade it is, yes.
It's not a necessity for the kids.
But they should know a little bit about it. You don't have to memorize it.
We found her unfiltered comments about Republicans and conservatives very troubling, and the idea that they would control local education concerning.
Republicans want to get in there and talk about stuff and change things around, screw with stuff, because they want to influence what's being taught. And Common Core has a phenomenal life.
Yeah, and so it's not really being so. A lot of these complaints about it are not so much about the content.
Yeah, people that don't really know what they're talking about. I can't stand if they talk to me one more time about climate change not being real. I'm just gonna scream.
Korber doesn't seem to think too highly of Christianity.
Say that I'm really glad that here in California, you know, whatever religious affiliation you want to take is fine, but in Texas they want to push the Christianity.
Well, they think it's the only one.
They do, and I see that in Common Core.
That's why it's so offensive to have them do prayers in the school board meetings.
Like Christianity is like totally out of Common Core.
Yes, it is.
But
totally, it's not important.
But there is a mention of other religions like Islam.
Yeah, well, you have to, because it's
so how did Islam get worked in?
But with Islam, they just said, you know, you have to talk about Islam, you have to talk about Judaism, you have to talk about Christianity, and they wanted to make it big about Christianity, but no, it's like everybody needs to know about everything else.
Like the publishing executives we exposed in our earlier videos, Korber boasts about the easy money textbook publishers make off Common Core.
Anytime anybody changes something in a textbook, it's profitable for the textbook company, so the textbooks have to change in the school district to adopt the new ones. That's profitable.
Because, say that again?
The textbook company, anytime a change happens that has to be put in the textbook, suddenly the school districts have to adopt new books.
And about that liberal bias?
Is that kind of one of the complaints? Is that Common Core does have a liberal bias?
We'd be educating their kids to the world, which they don't want to do that. They want their kids to only know this. It's like birth control. They don't want their kids to know about it. Yet, chlamydia is huge in Texas now. So it's like, you know, and the schools that have kids, that's because the kids don't know anything about what they're doing, and they're messing around, and they get in trouble because they haven't been educated. So, you know, it's that. I think the progressive bias is that people, the more educated you are, the better you are. And the conservative bias is the less they know, the better they're going to be. Yeah. It's a conservative pushback that they're afraid.
But it does seem like
conservative voters are afraid of everything.
I'm just wondering why Common Core specifically, if, you know, before Common Core, kids were learning about math and science.
Because it's the government telling you what to do. They don't agree with Islam, so they want their kids to know about it. They don't agree with birth control, so they don't want their kids to talk about it. They don't agree with math because they don't understand it. It's not the same math that they did in high school, so they don't want their kids to know about it. People who say that they want to teach the Constitution, and they want to teach the part of the Constitution that they like.
Second Amendment.
All of it. That's damn Second Amendment. I don't think personally handguns need to belong anywhere except the government, police. I don't think. What is the purpose of having a gun? Separation of church and state, they don't understand. They don't like that. They don't like equal rights between all groups. The voter suppression that's going on in the South is just unbelievably awful. People who are not educated are easy to